on such a big undertaking? The truth is that a legislative solution, unlike the initiative process, provides us the opportunity to strike the appropriate balance between protecting privacy rights and the ability of technology to innovate and provide reliable services now and into the future.
Here in the legislature is the appropriate venue for this debate. I think we can do a better job of balancing the trade-offs between protecting digital privacy on the one hand and encouraging commerce on the other through a legislative process than through the initiative process. And if you want proof of how much progress has been made on this issue, look at the initiative that this bill is meant to replace. The initiative is about 2 pages long. This bill is almost 20 pages long. So we have made a tremendous amount of progress, and I want to thank the author and the stakeholders for working so hard on this issue in the last couple of weeks. Now, having said all of that, it's been a little bit frustrating for me, the process that's been followed here, because it has been an abbreviated process, abbreviated by the legislative deadlines required to withdraw that initiative from the ballot in November. I still have some serious concerns with this bill. I'm concerned about the private right of action in the bill being used for purposes beyond the scope of the data protections in this bill, and so I think that language needs to be taken up. And also in the privacy hearing yesterday on the bill, there were some serious concerns raised by stakeholders of potential unintended consequences of the bill. So it's clear that we are going to need to do some work on implementational fixes for this bill in the next 18 months. And I'm thankful that we have a delayed implementation that gives us the time to do that. So the authors of the bill have made a commitment to work with the stakeholders to resolve some of those issues in the coming months. And with that commitment in place, I urge an aye vote on AB 375.
About the initiative process, they've only had 3 working days to take a look at these issues. And with the respective acknowledging that this has wide implications on companies that are not just simply in the borders of the state of California, not just in the nation, but globally, this is due diligence to ensure that we have the appropriate amount of time. To my knowledge, no other member of this legislature representing the Silicon Valley region was consulted in these discussions. And at the same time, we just heard previously on this process that there is a challenging exercise that we see here, which is that of the legislative body and our obligations on a fair process. And it is to note that while this is not a perfect solution with respect to process, my dear friend and colleague from Big Bear also echoed the comments that it is this duty of this body to address these outstanding issues moving forward. And I also have heard in previous conversations from the authors that there are significant commitments in addressing these issues moving forward in good faith. So again,
Newspaper Publishers Association about how this might inhibit their ability to do investigative reporting and work with sources. That was something that I hadn't anticipated as being a consequence, but when they read the bill, they realized that it could apply to them in a way that I'm sure was not intended by the authors of the bill. So while I rise in support, I want to thank the authors for recognizing that this is very much a work in progress, that improvements will need to be made over the coming months and year, 18 months until implementation, and that we need to work with industry, all industries, to identify how this might apply to them and make sure that it only applies to them in the ways that we intended and not unintended. So with that, I urge your support for AB 375, knowing that we will improve it over the next 18 months.
Thank you. So we had a brief communication yesterday about some concerns about this bill, and I just wanted to have you on the record as indicating whether or not you are willing to, along with your co-author in the Senate, working with the stakeholders to make sure that the existing private right of action is not expanded, and that there are some informational hearings that are held prior to the enactment of this legislation, should it get through today, just so that we make sure we have closed all the gaps and everyone is satisfied. And I just wanted to ask if you have made that commitment to work on
with all stakeholders to see if and how we could fine-tune this bill before its implementation date of January 1st, 2020.